This is tips and tricks for September 2022, how to migrate UnForm from one server to another.
Migrating UnForm from one machine to another. We have documentation on this process under Migrate to 10.0 on a new system, but this will be a visual intro to that. So you may be wondering, how do I get started? So the first thing you can do that you can do ahead of time is you can download UnForm on the new machine. So from the new machine, you can go to the unform.com website, and under support downloads, you can choose the operating system file that fits you. Second thing you can do ahead of time is you can request a license reset. So again, from unform.com, you can go to support or sales and licensing and fill out the request a license reset form. Now you will need your serial number in order to complete the form. And this can be done ahead of time, and your system that you're currently utilizing will not shut down temporarily. Okay, next thing you need to do is copy required files. So one of the required things is your libraries if you're using archive. So most of those, the default location is going to be an ARC subfolder wherever UnForm is installed. So here you have an ARC subfolder. You may also have libraries in another place, and that's fine as well. Just make sure that you copy all your library locations. And then the only DAT files that are mandatory are the ones that are spelled out here, as well as in that documentation. These are going to be references to your libraries, your users, your groups, and how your groups access the libraries, and different properties such as that. Now, there are a bunch of optional things you may or may not need, but it's helpful to spell them out for you. If you are using printing, you will need to know the location of where your rule files are and get all those copied over, as well as any dependencies inside of those rule files that may be logos. You may have an images subfolder that contains some logos. If you're utilizing Image Manager, there are two .dat files that hold the job definitions as well as the inbound sources. And when I speak of .dat files, again, we're going to go to the UnForm server install directory. And in the root of that, you're going to see a bunch of uf.dat files. And they're all going to be located here. If you're a DocFlu user, there's a couple more .dat files spelled out here. And then something you shouldn't forget is that if you have any integrations going on with ERP systems, you may have some subfolders out there. For instance, I've got an Acumatica subfolder with some integration files inside of it, or maybe an N4CS folder, an integration to CSD or SXE. Lastly, once you have everything that you need copied over, if this is a Windows machine, you are going to have a program, UnForm 10.0 Manager. You're going to have an activation tab. You're going to need to put in the serial number and the PIN code. You're going to enter a permanent activation. And then you may want to install this as a service and enter in the authentication credentials. After that's all done, this run button will be enabled and you can run the service. As well, you can go to the services console in Windows and do the logon credentials and run the service from here as well for the UnForm 10.0 server. Finally, if this is a Linux machine or any flavor of that, there is a license.sh script that brings up the licensing menu, and then you've got a UF100D space start command to get these services started. All right, and if you need any more information, check the manual.
If you have any suggestions or comments about tips and tricks, email them to dans@synergetic-data.com. For UnForm, tips and tricks, thank you very much. Hope to see you next month.